Hello and welcome to Awaaz the Voice, everyone. I am Vidushi Gaur and you're watching a podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Syed Mubin Zehra. She's an associate professor at Delhi University. She has also been conferred the Ladli Award twice. She was also amongst the 50 most promising women in India. Let's have a conversation with her. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you must have written and read thousands of books, but which is your favorite book here?
Well, Vidushi, this is a very interesting question that you're asking to an academician. I can't speak about any one book in particular because I'm more of a reader of my academic books or the books that are related to my subject. But yes, sometimes I do like to read autobiographies,
right.
of women achievers, of some leaders of this world and successful people. When I say successful, I don't mean people who've done something very big, but who are offbeat, who's done something different in life.
Right.
They've not taken the easy route. So such personalities and books about them interest me.
Right.
Now, having said that, Vidushi, I would say that I'm more of a research-oriented person.
Absolutely, your background says it all.
So I'd love to read some articles, some work that is being done on gender.
Right.
Some work, some literature work about women's sensitivity. Maybe a poetry collection that I come across about a woman who from Afghanistan. That would interest me. And I recently read a small story, about a woman in Yemen who is suffering the brunt of extremism. She writes about her small experiences, everyday experiences, and she says and she sells sweets on the street to take care of her family.
Wow.
So when she writes, and these things I come across when I'm doing my research, when I'm trying to find stories,
right.
When I'm working on gender issues. So she talks about the struggle, but at the same time, what struck me was that she also says that this is the happiness that I'm getting, that at least I am empowered to take care of my children,
Right.
So see, such stories and such events, they leave an impact. And since you've asked, I should add here that I am very much interested in Bhakti and Sufi literature by women.
Right.
Though this was my interest earlier also, but in recent times I am reading a lot on Zanabai. I don't
right.
know if you've heard of her. She's one of the greatest Bhakti women poets. She's a very simple housewife, a very simple woman, but her abhangas, her poems are very inspirational. So these kind of books and these kind of literature, they do appeal to me, and I think I'm a bit selfish because it helps me in my research also. So I don't want to waste time on something that is not adding to my research. So
right.
that's what I feel.
No, but this, on the other hand, this is very inspirational as well. Reading such stories gives you an inspiration and makes you a better person personally as well.
Right. You're
So
right.
you have roamed around the world. This everyone knows by now. So what is your favorite getaway destination? Not only as a historian or a professor,
Okay.
but personally, where do you like to stay and visit?
Vidushi, before I tell you about that, I would want to tell you that all my friends, they call me Ibn Battuta. Because I'm always, most of the time I'm traveling and I'm visiting places.
Aptly said.
Yeah. So being a historian and the character is from history. So yes, I have traveled US extensively. I've been it's been God's grace, and I've been lucky enough to have the IVLP fellowship of US
Right.
State Department twice, not once but twice. So I'm kind of a golden IVLP fellowship holder.
Which is in itself an achievement.
Yeah, and the greatest happiness is that when I traveled, I represented my country.
Absolutely.
So that gave me immense pleasure. And US, I have traveled I can't tell you. I've traveled to places like Huntsville, Alabama. Then there's this Birmingham of USA, New York, and I have also been to a small village in Arizona, state of Arizona, Sedona. I've seen the Grand Canyon. So all this has taken me through my work. So I mean, I can't name any one place. But along with that, I've also, my work, since I travel with my students on various trips, my work has taken me to places because Vidushi, one of my interesting area of interest is architecture, art and architecture.
How wonderful.
So I have written texts on temple architecture.
Right.
So I have been lucky enough to travel to places like Mahabali. Recently in January, I was in Mahabalipuram, Kanchipuram, and then Fatehpur Sikri, if you say for that matter, and places like Nubra, Ladakh. It's a beautiful place. Kargil Memorial. I think we all should travel India also. So all these places have interested me, and it's like reading a book. If you travel to one place, you're reading a book about that place.
Such a lovely simile, I must say.
Yeah. So, I always make it a point to, now coming to your question, you asked me that which is your favorite place. So, all these places are my favorite place, and there are many more places that are still my favorite where I want to go and I want to visit, and it's on my bucket list. But when I travel to like I was telling you about Arizona, Grand Canyon, I went to a small village there in America, Arizona state, the Sedona. If you just Google Sedona, you'll know it's full of beautiful pink mountains and beautiful people. So I went to a small village market there, and what inspired me was there was a woman, and she was a village woman in America, and she was selling these handmade jewelries, Vidushi, and this story I always share because I'm sure if somebody is listening, they should know that how important is a human connect. It's not the gender, it's not the caste, creed, religion, but the human connect is very important. So when I told her about myself, that I'm an Indian, she was so happy. She's never been to India. She must have just had an image about, but she said that, oh yeah, India. So, we have that when you represent your country. So any city you go, any place you go, it gives you happiness.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's very true actually. And so talking about all these destinations that you've been to, where do you come from? Where do you hail from? What are your background? What is your background, and what is everything about you?
Well, my roots, if you say, my parents, my father is from Ayodhya, and we, post-partition, the Muslims who chose to stay in their motherland. So we are from that part of the section, and but I've been born. I was born in Mumbai because my parents, they shifted to Mumbai. I was born and brought up in Mumbai, and I think Mumbai, which was Bombay then, it helped me because it's a city that is multicultural, and there is an immense mix of culture and tradition there, and they have their own tradition. I did my schooling from a convent school because I am so proud to confess and say this, that my parents, despite all the economic deprivation, we were so many of us, now you just have 1 or 2 kids. That time we were 6 of us, and we all had the best of education. And my mother used to say that education is very important. So they gave the best of education, and the result of that was that I went to the best of the schools. I did my college from Bharati Vidya Bhavans, Mumbai. Then I did my masters from University of Mumbai.
Okay.
And then I came to JNU. And I came to JNU after marriage. I got married and I came to Delhi.
Okay.
So, and I did my MPhil PhD with my 2 kids.
Wow.
From JNU. So that's another wonderful story.
This is crazy information. Yeah, absolutely. We would want to know this story.
Yeah. I think the journey was interesting, and now if Vidushi, I look back, I think, how could have I done all of that? Because nowadays I see you have all the help, you have all the support, etc. Still, it's not possible.
Right.
But technically, if you ask the reason, I will give you the reason is that JNU had a married accommodation, married hostel. So that helped. I stayed on the campus with my children.
Okay.
And I had very good teachers.
Okay, supportive teachers.
Yes, supportive teachers and my guide, my batchmates, you know. So I used to go, my children. My children, they grew up along with me. So by the time they were like 4 years or 5 years or 6 years of age, they already knew what a PhD is and how you go about PhD. Amma, your synopsis is done, or no, which chapter you are on, you know.
Right.
So that kind of support, and of course my husband.
Right.
So I had all the support of my children, my husband. Yes, I would want to say here this also, that I did not have support of many people,
right.
but that did not affect me, because I am a believer in positive perspectives.
Right, so I was just going to ask that when you became the professor, when you got selected at Delhi University as an assistant professor, so I'm pretty sure, being a Muslim woman coming from a humble background, yet you have achieved so much. But what problems did you face? Did you face any problems, barring your husband and your children and of course your parents? But did you face any problems, or how did people welcome you as a professor?
That's a very complicated question.
Yeah.
But the answer is very simple, I should say, because once when you venture on some journey,
yeah,
you have to accept the fact that it's not going to be an easy journey.
Absolutely.
Okay, so as a woman, any woman who's going out and trying to make a difference, she has to face problem, because the world is not made as per her identity.
Absolutely, we all face that.
Yes, and patriarchy is not gender. Patriarchy is a construct which is everywhere. It has different ways how it comes in the ways of a woman. I think patriarchy still thinks of keeping women as gatherers, and they still believe that men are hunters.
Yeah.
It's
You're
just
speaking in absolute history terms. I can so relate to that.
But I did not face problem as such. But yes, whatever logistic problems are there when you are trying to make a mark or when you're doing your work. But I personally, Vidushi, believe that if you just keep working, if you just keep going, and my aim was not doing a job or not, I mean, that financial empowerment is very important. But like I'll tell you, Vidushi, all my batchmates from JNU, they are all in bureaucracy and on the top post at present.
Right.
And all of them, I'm so proud of them. Right. I'm the only one who is in academics. But they always keep saying that they always say only this is our batchmate who did PhD.
Right.
They're so proud of me.
Absolutely.
So I think these kind of support and this, and I think your question was that as a Muslim woman. Yeah. That's a very interesting question, Vidushi. Our country is a very beautiful place. Whatever is being said, being done, or floated in the media is a different game. But I have had very supportive friends.
Right.
And for me, religion, caste, creed was never an issue. I have had real supportive teachers, like I said, real supportive family. And I am a teacher, I'm an educator. So I have to disseminate my knowledge. So I don't identify any particular religion, caste, creed, gender. Now, for that matter, it's not just female and male. We have the third gender also. So we have so many issues. The new generation are facing so many issues that we deal day to day. So the journey has not been easy. But I don't know if you know this, Delhi University is probably a university which has the largest female academic employers.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and thankfully we are living in a country where we as women never had to fight for our voting rights. We never had to fight for equal pay. So in that matter, we are a very blessed nation.
That's true. That's very true.
But having said that, we need to work on policy, because I always write and I am very vocal about this issue that it's important to make policies, and the government should make policies that are pro-women. And the problem is that whenever there is a pro-women policy made, there is a section in our society, there is a section in our entire surrounding that thinks that if you're giving more importance to women, you're denying something to the men. It is not like that. You know, I want to tell them that it is not like that. For thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we've been subjugated. We still
terribly subjugated.
And today, even if a woman is coming out, it's not an easy way. Like you're asking me this question, Vidushi, that what are the troubles or what are the difficulties that you wanted to face? I'm being very courteous. I'm not trying to think about those difficulties because I believe in positive perspective of life. But that doesn't mean that any woman has not faced or I have not faced.
Absolutely.
So now the point that I'm trying to make, Vidushi, is that if I am here, it's my duty. It's my moral, ethical and religious duty that I do something for the society. Because my struggle has to have some result.
Absolutely.
So I have to give back. So that's the reason why I don't think about the negativity, about the negative people in my life. And they are not always people who are not someone who are unknown people. Sometimes your family, your blood relation, your immediate relatives, your immediate siblings. I mean, they could have a problem with your, work. They could have a problem with your thoughts. So my advice to anybody facing this, any woman facing this would be that gather it as your strength and take it as a challenge and just look ahead and keep doing your work. Just don't bother. I think that is very important.
Lovely, lovely lesson to all the viewers here. Listen to what she's saying. So, ma'am, speaking about all the gender issues that we have just spoken, and your pivotal work has been around gender identity, and you have spoken about things that nobody else usually talks about, the desires of women.
Yes.
So, how did you conquer this work? Because the research has reached up to the epitome of historical work. So, how did you conquer it?
This is also very interesting, part of my life. When I did my MPhil, when I was doing my MPhil, I was doing it on the Mughal family and household. Then, I used to have this discussion with my husband also and my guide also. This topic was very interesting. My husband said that there's nothing about, if you talk about medieval Indian history, Mughal history, now it's like I'm talking about some 10-15 years back.
Right.
Now you have a lot of work, you have folk literature, everything. So, he said, why don't you work on sexuality or women? We don't find anything about any women. I said, yeah, that's a very interesting. And when I was working on Mughal family and household, when I was also talking about the festivities, the cooking, the culinary, the art and all. Somewhere under all these work, I thought that the real perspective of women is not coming out,
Right.
So, like in my research, most of the Mughal princesses, they died spinster.
Okay.
And we celebrate a Mughal king's marriage to a Rajput women. But a Mughal princess is not allowed to marry a Rajput or a non-Mughal.
Right.
So that's the reason that so there is a control of their desire. So these kind of things, these perspectives. Then there was paucity of sources.
Naturally.
That's what I discussed with my guide, my guru. So I said, no, and I have always been like this, Vidushi. I have never taken the easy way,
Right.
So, and I don't do it with the perspective that, ye kuch difficult hai isliye karna hai. No, I change the word. I make it interesting. I think, this is going to be more interesting.
Right.
So how you dub, how do you define your struggle? That is also very, very important.
Absolutely.
Either you just say that, it is, it's very difficult and I'll have to face a lot of problems and I'll do it. No, it's going to be interesting. Why not? Let's have a chat. Let's fight it out. Let's do it,
Right.
So that charisma should be there in your struggle, and that is what I always do. So I found some, because poetry I feel is the expression of the age.
Right.
So any age the poetry is written.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure you know this, Vidushi, that in European Middle Ages, and sometimes women were not allowed to express themselves. They used to write with the pen name of a man, you know. But we've been lucky. We've had Gargi, we've had Maitri. The mathematical treatise of Aryabhatta is its title Leelavati, his daughter's name.
Yes.
Then Gulbadan Banu Humayun Nama, it's written by a Mughal woman. But then I found that there's a paucity of any literature or any narrative of a woman, you know.
Right.
So that intrigued me, and that made me talk about, and then that's why I explore morality, I explore pleasure, and I explore sensuality of women. And I thought that I have to put to the world some research that talks about women, their feelings, their desires, and also their desires that were not allowed to be expressed.
Absolutely. I feel it's because of women like you who have done such pivotal work, especially in historical context, or maybe otherwise also, that young girls like us can openly speak about issues, our desires, and everything that we want to talk about. So we want to thank women like you who have genuinely worked and gone through the hard work. So speaking of exploration, you spoke about exploration of your work. So regarding that, I want to ask you, you have almost traveled the world. So can you please tell us about your work that you did in Seoul, South Korea and USA? What was it?
Yeah, see, that was also a very interesting trip because I'm a member of Indian Women Press Corps. It's one of the most important women journalists body, body, and that was my first international trip, Vidushi.
Okay.
So in that way also it was very interesting.
Right.
So and the most interesting part of that trip was that we stayed for a night. 2 days we visited a Buddhist monastery there, which was an all-women Buddhist monastery. So the entire monastery was managed, looked after. The monk, the lady nun who was there, she was a lady, and we had an extremely interesting interaction with those women.
Right.
Now Seoul is a beautiful city. And our Indian roots, Indians are respected a lot there, and it was a girl gang. We were like 30, more than 30 women, and I was leading that trip, and it was my first international trip. So I did get to learn also a lot, and I had some experiences that taught me many things, and we had exchanges with their women ministers there, and it's a very that place is a very a very technically sound city. So that was very interesting. That impressed me a lot. But Indian women there, and all great Indian women. I had authors, I had fierce journalists who were traveling with me, and all of them very well acclaimed women. We all were very well acclaimed and very well read, knowledgeable women. So I think for me that was a great journey to showcase Indian women, because I'll just give you an example. When I had a round table at Washington University, and I travel like this, I take my Indian culture. I'm never, I don't have any problem with Western outfit, but I'm comfortable, because I believe anyone who is comfortable in whatever, that is also a very big issue with women, what to wear and all.
Yes.
So when I had a round table in Washington University, and it was on interfaith, because I work on interfaith and countering violent extremism also. I write against extremism also. So there was this very senior professor, and he was talking about how to bring people together and all that. and he was a professor of history. Now, I mean, I don't want to comment whether that person was deliberately not talking about Indian tradition of, divine monotheism, bhakti, Sufism and all. So when my chance to speak came, I mean, I was so happy that, I have got this chance to represent the pluralism of my country, and the identity of Vasudev Kutumbakam that we call above, that we call. And globalization is a very post-Second World War concept.
Right.
But we as Indians believe that in our everyday working, in our everyday, dealing with people. And we believe in globalization. We believe in Namaste. So I think such trips and such interaction, I take it as an important perspective to represent an Indian woman.
True.
The prejudices that are there, the kind of misconceptions they have. So I always try to break that in my very own sweet way, academically, through my lectures, to my writings, through my speeches.
Or the saris you wear.
Yeah, that's one love that I can't do away with. Yes.
So you're an inspiration to Muslim women, and you're pursuing a career in teaching. So how satisfying has your journey been up till now?
If you're talking about the minority women, undoubtedly we are marginalized within the marginalized section.
Yeah.
Now I'll just give you an example. My example, I'll just explain it through an example. When I first traveled to USA, I was the only woman. We had a group, and there were 3 Maulvis with me. There were 3 because it was a fellowship, which was sponsored to talk on interfaith and validating. And these were the people who were working in religious sections. So I don't know how that was designed, because I was the only woman. And the other 3 participants from India. 2 were from Hyderabad, and 1 was from Mumbai, and I was the only one from Delhi north side. And 2 of them were, in presence also they looked like religious leaders. One of them was in presence, didn't look like a religious leader, but intrinsically he was more religious, So, and I used to very funnily tell him that you are a Maulvi in disguise. So that was the fun part. Now, while I was with them, one of them, through all because we had meetings and lectures and roundtable conferences and exchange of notes and ideas and talking and representing our country. So one of them got really bugged in one of why I'm sharing this incident, because it's important. It's important to know people who are on important positions, that what message they give, So he just comes and he tells me after one of the interactions that it is because of you women that all the problem in the world. It's because of women like you who talk about freedom and empowerment of women that there is problem in this world.
Right.
And the other religious person who was with him, he came and I don't have to contest. He comes and he contests. Hey, aap kya baat kar rahe hain? You're not supposed to say like this. Right? So it's not religion, it's how your thinking is.
Yeah, it's person to person.
Person to person. But having said that, I believe that if you have policies in place, if you have, stronger laws for women, no matter what is the problem, the things will become easier for women. And there are changes happening in the community. And Muslim women are taking education, they are coming up. And very interesting thing I want to tell you that I had been part of this article some years back, the Week did, and this where I discussed, they asked me somewhat the same question. I said that the Indian Muslims are not, they should not identify with the Middle East or with the West, because it's called Arabization of Islam.
Right.
Because we have if you see the weddings, the cultures, I one of my chapter is on marriage folk songs. I like to work on folk songs also.
Right.
So if it's a Hindu marriage or it's a Muslim marriage, you have the same folk songs being sung, you know, and most of the practices are the same. So Muslim women challenges are there, I don't say. There are two lapses which I very boldly and very clearly say. We lack more Muslim women in education.
Absolutely true.
And we lack Muslim women leadership. Because even if you see political parties, they want some Muslim identity male sitting there because it's going to give them more vote. I'm being very frank and talking about this.
Absolutely, yes.
So for them, that's a more comfort representation. Now you tell me, Vidushi, it took 100 years for AMU to get a women vice chancellor.
Yeah. Yes.
And I don't know if you are a history student,
Yes.
you should know this, that Sir Syed Ahmad Khan built that institute
Absolutely.
for women education,
Yes.
girls education, and
Co-education, yes.
and the problems that he faced is a different story, which didn't come from any other community or any other place.
From within the community.
Yes, so there is a need, and I'm not saying that it's not happening. It is happening. There is awakening. There is kind of social awakening happening among the Muslims.
Yeah.
And if you see the pioneer of women education in India, you talk about Savitri Bai Phule. Who was her accomplice, her friend? It was Fatima Bibi.
Yes.
She was a Muslim lady.
Absolutely.
So but it's not an issue that has to be there is a political there's a political analysis of that issue, which I would not want to go into because I'm not a political person.
Right.
But socially, I would say, and I would like to give a message that every woman, even if she's a Muslim, since you asked me that question, they should be financially independent. Because for them, their inspiration should be Bibi Khadija, who was the wife of
First
Prophet
wife of
Muhammad.
Prophet,
Yeah,
yes.
and she was a businesswoman.
Yes.
The first university in the world was started by a Moroccan woman, and that is in 800 century,
Yeah.
post 800 century.
Okay, so you have been conferred with the Ladli Award.
Twice, yes.
Twice.
Yes.
Wow. And what is it? Please tell the viewers.
Yeah, that's an award that's given to for writings on gender sensitivity, different perspectives of gender sensitivity, where people are working on gender sensitivity.
Yeah.
I have been awarded for my columns, my Jansatta column and my Urdu column Sargoshiyan.
Right.
So twice I received this award, and awards don't matter, but yes, they definitely give you an extra pill, where maybe sometimes you are feeling low or something, but
Yeah.
they definitely give you a pill to work more hard, and it gives you an identity. And I'm so glad that I got it for the work that I feel so close,
Yeah.
Gender sensitivity.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Such a pivotal work, I must say it again. So you also were talking about some films, and I'm pretty sure you watch films. So which is your favorite movie? Any historical movie that you would want to suggest me personally?
This is very funny. You might find it funny, but I don't like to watch historical drama or historical movies.
Okay.
I believe movies are entertainment. But at the same time, I am fond of some movies that talk about some social change, like Article 15 was an interesting.
Yeah.
Indian cinema lately has come out with some very important issues and topic that was not spoken about, and we've had great actresses and actors who are working on them. And movies I like to watch for entertainment.
Yeah.
I enjoy, but not any particular movie as such. Historical drama I don't watch, because then the historian in me is, alive, and then I start, this is a wrong fact. They never used to wear this dress.
Right.
At least my family never likes to watch some historical drama with me.
Yeah.
How it was not so lavish, what they are showing.
You basically ruin
So
the movie for everyone
so
watching.
that's the reason that I don't watch. But maybe if I'm writing on something, because I wrote about Jodha Akbar some years
Right.
back. So if I'm asked to write on something, then I do sit and watch, and then I do my research-oriented watching of that movie. So for me, I think one of my favorite movie could be, say, Castaway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful choice.
And that's a beautiful movie. And then Pursuit of Happiness.
And evergreen movie.
And I think in that movie, if you just want to concentrate on some the bathroom, the toilet scene when they are in the toilet, and how he brings happiness to his child, and the struggle of that man to survive, so I think such movies, they are lovely, So, and then entertainment also, there are many movies that are very entertaining. The Prada,
The Devil Wears Prada.
The Devil Wears Prada.
That's a chick flick.
Yeah, chick flick. And Pretty Woman is a nice movie.
27 Dresses.
Yeah, and yes, and in Indian cinema, I think I am very fond of watching old classic movies. If you see Sahib Bibi and Ghulam, Meena Kumari questions her husband. I don't know, there's one very beautiful scene in that when he goes every night to the Kothewali, the courtesan, and she says, no, you're my husband, I want you. So he says, why you have to bother? You break the jewelries and make new jewelries like other bhabhi and sisters are doing. So at that time, in 50s and 60s, this such movie was made. And she questions him that, no, I am not like others. Meena Kumari says this.
Right.
Then there's this movie which talks about widow remarriage, Prem Rog. I think that's a very, revolutionary movie.
Right. Well, you are a very inspirational individual, and personally also you're very positive, like the father, Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness. I feel that you give that vibe. So what would you want to tell our viewers, the young budding historians who want to get into academia or maybe pursue history just as a hobby? So is there anything that you want to tell them?
Yes, I think I'm just going to say what I tell my students. I tell my students two things. Now this is a social perspective, then I'll come to the academic perspective. I tell them that there are two things in life that you are supposed to remember. One, don't do anything that brings bitterness to your parents, and don't do anything that brings bitterness to your country. So because these are the two identities that we have to live through. Okay, even if it's a globalization world, but wherever you go, he's an Indian American, he's an Indian, like we have the Prime Minister of UK. But the tag of he being an Indian origin is still there.
Absolutely.
So these are the two things I tell my students. Talking of academia, I believe that if any student has an aspiration for higher studies and research, they must go for it. And it's not easy because higher studies is not, you don't get the economic fruit very soon. You have to work hard, you have to follow many constraints in life, and since it's just coming to my mind, I'll say if it's a woman, if it's a girl, if she's doing research, she has different challenges. She has to get, I was lucky that I could pursue my education after marriage, but women are not. They have these brackets made that 20 education karna, and then you get married, and one more important thing that I tell my girl students and my male boys, they always get angry. Ma'am, you always favor the girls, but I'm sorry, I say that women should be financially very independent. Even if you're getting married, your parents, whatever, you have to have your financial independence. And I go further. There should be property in the name of a woman. Every woman should buy a property. She should have her own house. And she should have this land. I think if you go by the data, only 11% or 7% women own property in the world.
Wow, that's surprising. Surprisingly low.
Yeah, surprisingly low. Because it is such. So it's very important. So the day you girls have money, buy a house for yourself. And earn to buy a house. Even if your husband has a bungalow, but you have a house of your own. Land, property is very important.
So on that note, I would like to end this podcast. You had with you Dr. Syed Mubin Zehra, and you're watching the podcast with Vidushi Gaur on Awaaz the Voice. Thank you.